Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, we have an interesting horror film coming up called Karen. Now, I'm surprised Karen hasn't had a film made about her yet, because Karen is an icon, Karen is a phenomenon. Karen is usually a middle-aged white woman who lives in the suburbs and has a haircut like Kate Gosling, and she's kind of entitled and complains to the manager. So she's usually really not that much of a danger. But there is the racist Karen, the racial strength Karen, that is another level. Now, we've seen a lot of that since Black Lives Matters. Now, like, just black people are just a threat to some people. Some white people are so racist and triggered by black people. Like, just a black person in their environment is a threat. They will call the police and have them removed because, like, there's a black person here. Like, oh my God. It's that irrational, and just people can be, like, barbecuing, just walking through the neighborhood, and literally will have the police called on them. And sometimes this can end very badly because there was one lady who, a guy was bird watching, and she called and said that he was threatening her when he wasn't, and he had all this on film, and she was shown to be lying. But had the police shown up and you know, like, you say a black person's threatening you and has a gun or something, and the police show up, they're basically dead. So it's not a joke. So I thought this film might actually be fun for a second. I thought it might be camp, but it's race horror, and it gets very scary very quick. Now, I found this through Az from Hill vs. Babyface. I don't have myself subscribed to him, but he comes up on my feed, and I sort of was like, oh, Karen, what's this? And I don't know what was more disturbing, the trailer or the fact that he was managing to downplay and explain away any of the racism from Karen in the film, like it was some sort of pathological need or something. I don't understand it. Now, I personally feel that Az is racist. I don't know him personally, but that's just from what I see, what I feel. And he really seemed to show that in his video about this, where he was just downplaying and minimizing all the racism in this trailer, like a lot of people do, because they feel they can minimize the racism and try and hide the racism. That they can kind of, it's part of preserving their white supremacy by minimizing black people's suffering or the situation and acting like it doesn't exist. So it's kind of disturbing to see someone do that. But the preview itself is from Bet Films, BET, and it's directed, written, and produced by a guy called Kirk Daniels. I don't know who he is, but it starts off with basically a couple of black people moving into a neighborhood, and the black guy is really cute, and he's saying, look, we're a long way from East Point. Don't know where that is. We see Karen notice them right away. They're automatically a threat in the neighborhood, so she's watching them. And we see her in a restaurant, and a neighbor asks, a friend asks what her new neighbors are like, and she's like, they're black. And we see a scene where there's a black guy laughing too loud in the restaurant, so she goes over and tells him he has to be quiet. And if he doesn't obey the rules, if he doesn't comply, something bad could happen. She's going to get the manager or something, because she is the authority. She's the white authority. It's kind of, it sets her up very quickly, and it's kind of disturbing. Now, we show her putting up security cameras because there's black people in the neighborhood. They're a threat. I mean, they have to be monitored. She lectures them about taking the trash out at the right time on her schedule, and she's like, okay, whoa. The wife, I assume they're married, the wife asks him, so we have a white entitled neighbor called Karen. And that's where it kind of is a joke at that point, but not for very long. We see Karen calling the police on some teenagers. One of them is black. I assume she's calling because of him, and the white guy who's actually filming, who's sort of predominant in the first shot, is just trying to help his black friend out by recording what's happening. And this is the first moment where because he was downplaying the video the whole time, but he actually said, oh, see, it's a white person. She's harassing a white person. She's not racist. No black people. I'm like, there's a black guy in the shot. He's in the scene. What are you talking about? And then he says, later on they get pulled up. It looks like they get pulled up again. They're being harassed. And he said, the guy's like, I left my ID at home. They're being harassed. The white guy seems to be observing this happening to his black friend. And she jokes like, how did you end up here? She's clearly saying you're not, you really don't fit in here. We see her talking to a group of people like a neighbourhood watch or some sort of committee, and she's sort of talking about we can't let criminals in to our area and sort of that. And you see her talking on the phone to someone saying, you take care of him and I'll take care of her. So clearly they are actually, she's coordinating an attack on these people, a racist attack on these people because she doesn't want them in the neighbourhood. It's clearly racism. It's meant to be racism. It's depicted as racism. But yet, as is talking about it like, that's not racism. Oh, she just has problems. She's just Karen. And we find out later that actually her brother is a policeman and he has a record of harassing black people. She has a record of harassing black people. And so she has someone of authority on her side. So when she calls the police, she has him. So we see that they apparently don't put the trash away on her schedule, so she knocks it over. And we see the wife picking it up, and there's a little girl of her, and the girl says she's talking about Karen. She said she doesn't like black people. And she says to the camera, I'm black. And she said, she doesn't like you. And when that part happened, Az was saying, oh, no, she said she doesn't like white people, see, so she doesn't like anyone. It's just not about race. She's not racist. It's she just hates everyone. She's Karen. She's got problems. And I'm like, how did you hear different words come out of that girl's mouth? She said she doesn't like black people. She doesn't like you. You're black. Because the black lady's speaking to her, and she said she doesn't like you. Like it's like the shot of the girl's face looking at her face. It's like, I find it bizarre that people find the need to minimize racism as like a denial. It's really, I've seen people do it a lot with stories. You hear a story about a black person being shot or arrested or harassed, and they always find some way to make it their fault or minimize it, or it didn't happen. It's just really bizarre. So keep going through this. The guy gets arrested, black guy gets arrested, and we see him being arrested in his car, and they planted drugs on him. We see them get a warrant for his house, so they're harassing them. The wife says, I want to move. Basically, the black guy goes in to investigate the house, and he finds a Confederate flag on things, so there's, racist paraphernalia in the house, and he says, look, we're living next to a racist. And the wife realizes he's been investigating, and it's all getting pretty messy. And there's a moment earlier in, which is actually another moment where Az was really strange. They invite Karen to dinner, and she sees the wife cooking, and she says, oh, you're slaving away. Now, no white person in their right mind would say to a black person or make any racial slave comment to a black person, because it's automatically racial. And Az was saying, oh, that's not racist. She's not a racist. That's not racist to say that. That's just a common phrase. Everyone says that. I'm like, no, white people don't say that to black people because they know what that means. It's not a huge thing, but it's something you just would never do. And if you did, you would know that you were like, you'd be like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. So he's acting like that's not racism. That's not a sign. It's clearly a sign in this film that she's saying you should be in the kitchen as a slave. That's what she's saying. It's clear. So there's also another scene where she's just a guest, and she's like sitting there, and she's sitting across from 4 or 5 black people, and something's happened. She's obviously upset them. She said, you people are very angry, which is something racists always do. It's always the black people's fault. They're angry. It's them. Like, you do something, you attack someone, you confront someone, you insult someone, or marginalize someone, and then they say something, and then like, oh, you're very offended. You're getting upset. Oh, you're basically somehow impinging on me with your reaction to my racism. It's just really bizarre. There's another moment where the cop, he actually says, when you're a hammer, everything looks like nails. So it's like almost saying like, I'm like a force. I have to do this. And he also says, shut your mouth, boy, to the black guy when he's arresting him. And anyone knows anything about slavery knows that black men weren't allowed to be given the dignity of being men or considered men or called men. They're always called boy. So when you call a black man boy, there's a meaning behind that. That's not an accident. So And like I said, Az plays all that down, and it's really disturbing to watch. And I've seen people do this so many times with race stories where they just downplay the racism, pretend it's not there. Like I said, it's like a pathological drive or something. Or I don't know, was he actually trying to gaslight his audience and convince them that the preview wasn't about a racist character and wasn't about racism, wasn't about a problem? Like maybe they won't watch the preview and they'll just never know what the film is actually about and believe him. Is that what that was? It was really bizarre. I don't know. But I can't see the time to see how long I've been talking. I think I probably should finish. But I think this is going to be a good horror movie because I think it's going to be actually scary. At first I thought it was going to be camp and fun. But that's the problem with modern horror movies versus old horror movies. Old horror movies had an element of camp to certain extents. You could sort of laugh at the film and kind of enjoy it. Whereas more modern films, they're just gore or they're torture porn or they're really serious, and you don't get any room to sort of step back or enjoy any of it. And I don't enjoy horror, like modern horror films, as much because they're just horrific and not in an entertaining way, just in a really grueling, horrible, traumatizing, feel drained afterwards sort of way. Kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be good, but in that sort of way. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I just wish Us had been more like this, because I think Us was the name of the film where the white girl takes her black boyfriend home to the family, and it's like this race horror where he just has to deal with the racism and that, and it's just what every black person goes through. And that film was really good until they went on this really weird sci-fi twist which ruined it. This film doesn't do that. It just keeps going with the race horror, and it's really, I think it's going to be really good. I'm really going to go this time. Thanks, bye.